ladies and gentlemen. By 2040, Bengaluru's population is projected to nearly double. At the same time, police are also likely to rely heavily on technology, including AI and machine learning models, to protect this fast-growing city. Some questions still remain. How will citizens' data be safeguarded from cyber attacks? And what steps need to be taken to ensure we don't turn into a surveillance state? To answer that and more, we are joined today by the people who are building that future. I'll begin with Mr. Pronab Mohanty. Mr. Mohanty, by 2040, will the average Bengaluru police officer still need a lathi and a jeep, or will their primary weapon be a data dashboard? Are we seeing the end of beat constable?
So that reminds me of an anecdote that we have been hearing since our police academy days. In 1860, somebody asked the same question, what will be happening in 100 years from now? The lathi is still there, the beat is still there. So when we talk about policing in as far as 2040, and especially the ingress of technology into that, there are two answers. One would be what is likely to change in policing, and second is what is not likely to be changing. There are certain things in police that won't change. The conventional investigation will continue. Some of the interactions, the engagements between police and the citizenry will continue. The courts will continue. The interfaces with the court between the court and the police will continue. Prosecution will continue. Now the question is what won't? What is likely to be impacted by technology? Rightly, as you said, the concepts of computerization, digitization, and the various different variants of digitization, including the increased adoption of AI, ML, we don't know where that leads, because that field seems to be progressing very rapidly, wildly in fact. We can't really say what will happen by 2040. If you ask me truly, I'd only be able to give a vision till about 3 years from now. 3 to 5 years would be the maximum limit. Nobody would have thought in 2022 that suddenly this GPT thing will come and land with a splat or a thud. And we also have a computer vision expert here. So that's also likely to play the next generation of AI ML, which has not yet come. We are seeing it to some extent with the driverless cars, and that's likely to lead the way in policing quite a bit. So when you ask me a question, briefly I can tell you the dynamics of it. Digitization is going to go on. The datafication of citizens will go on. The data itself will be stored progressively in more and more private containers. That will go on. The data security will be very important. These things are not going to stop. The methodology of police, like traffic control, crime control, investigation, forensics, these are going to see paradigmic changes. These things are not in doubt. But also not in doubt are certain aspects of conventional policing that won't change. I hope that briefly addresses your question.
Coming to you, Ranjith. Your tech isn't just recording video, right? It's called Edge AI. In 2040, if a camera sees a fight, let's say on Brigade Road, does it wait for a human to intervene, or does the camera itself detect the aggression and decide what should be deployed?
Good. I'll talk about what's happening today first, and then we'll go to 2040, right? So what we do is a combination of Edge AI and Cloud AI, right? Let's take the example of a newly launched product that we have. It's gun detection, and it's for schools in USA. We've been acquired by a US company, so some of the products that we have developed are for the US market. So what we do there is we have the Edge AI, which computes stuff reasonably accurately and then sends it to the cloud. And why the cloud is right now important is because of the new Gen AI models that are available. So, a lot of computation available there. So you can very accurately say what's going on. Yet it's not accurate enough. So you will send it to a third human to actually sort of monitor it and then make a decision on whether to take an action or not. So that's what's going on today. And fight detection, these things are going to come out very soon. In fact, we are working on it ourselves. And so you're not going to have to wait till 2040 for that to happen. But on the decision-making bit, I do see that the AI is going to get a lot more better, right? So at some point, low cost things, low cost decisions. When I mean low cost is, for example, what we are about to do today right now is use speakers to warn off people. Things like, guys, stop fighting, chill, don't do that kind of thing. Just warning people, or obviously not in a tone like that, in a much more sort of commanding voice, is likely to deter a lot of crime. So those are low-cost things, because you're not actually sending humans to the field, and so you can, the AI can make those decisions themselves. And so we're not there yet, but almost there. So by 2040, you're going to see these low-cost decisions being made by AI to send, but the big cost decisions are still going to be quite human-driven. Because like if you want to send a police constable there or a police patrol team there, it's likely to be still driven. But like Pranab sir said here, really can't say what's going to happen by 2040. But my prediction is, yeah, it's going to get better, but not going to be at the level that we are going to allow humans to kind of, not be in the loop. Yeah, that's my take.
And digressing a little bit from technology, Devyani, what are some of the main reforms you see as necessary for the police to play a pivotal role in driving the city's growth and prosperity over the next decade?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And before I answer your question, I also want to thank Deccan Herald for including a panel on policing in this conclave. It's not very often, actually, that policing is integrated into conversations on city development. So this is already a good start. Before we can sort of embrace the potential of technology and AI, I think two main issues to my mind are very crucial. One is the two main reform issues that are very important. One is the pyramidal structure of the police organization itself. Now, this is something that reform, initiatives have been talking about for a while. Today's police, state police, is such that 85% of the police force is in the constabulary, which is constable and head constable. About 14 to 15% is your middle rank, which is investigating officers. And then less than 1% on an average is the IPS. I think this structure, we have to ask the question on how amenable is it to sort of lead and respond to modern day policing challenges. In fact, some have remarked that it's not a pyramid, it's an Eiffel Tower. So, this impacts the quality of supervision, the quality of accountability that flows, because, you have very few officers and supervisors and a very mass, sort of a lower rank, which is least trained, least qualified. So if you want to integrate technology, then I think some revision and rethinking of the kind of personnel we will need to be able to really take advantage of technology is crucial. That's the first point. The second point that I want to also highlight is the sort of absence of what we call strategic planning. Now, again, this is something that reform, including the Supreme Court, has highlighted way back in 2006. The need for local policing plans to develop, both in consultation with rank and file, so officers on the grounds taking their input, and then, of course, the citizens. Today, I don't think there are enough platforms for citizens to engage with the police on what are the kind of policing methods that are needed. And so today, when we're talking about integration of technology and AI, I think there's too much of a distance between what the people understand of it, what the policing requirement of it. And so those platforms become important for us to sort of plan strategically and not be reactive, as other panels have also highlighted this point.
Ranjith, help me understand something.
Yeah.
If, let's assume, your AI flags a person as suspicious based on the gait, clothing, or any other physical attributes, can you explain why, or is the machine making decisions that can't really be audited?
Yes and no, I would say. Just that, remember, we are the larger models in particular that we are starting to rely on more and more, right? The large language models that are out there, were all learned from the internet, right? And they have the same kind of biases that humans do. So So they've kind of learned. So let me take a step back and first go address one of your questions. The first question is whether, what does that bit again?
Profiling.
Yeah, profiling people. Yeah. So it can reason with you. Like if you ask it to reason, it will give you a reason. This is why he or she looks suspicious, right? But then if you find that there is a bias there, I guess that's what you're really referring to, right? Hidden biases that AI have. So if you notice that the AI is having biases, and can you pinpoint why the AI is having bias? Right now it's very hard to do that. It is a black box. It's like 100 billion parameters in there. So the larger language models are very hard to, it's very hard to pinpoint. It's also not easy to retrain them. Although the Googles and Facebooks, I think they're starting to put guardrails where the data itself that it's learning from, the AI is learning from, they're trying to kind of be more selective about the data that it takes. So it's going to get better. That's my thing. The other thing is, I think in policing, I think we will use a lot of smaller models. The smaller models can be corrected more easily. They can be retrained more easily. At the end of it, what I would say is the AI is also kind of a reflection of the human mind, right? Because it is learning from what is out there in the internet. And, I would think it would be easier to teach AI, to correct itself than to teach humans. Because human biases are going to be extremely, it's hard to explain why you have some biases, right? We are always evolving. We see what is on internet, we see what is on social media, and we kind of get inherently biased, and it's not easy to remove. But AI, you can still teach it. There is still hope that you can teach AI to sort of remove those biases, and I think that's kind of happening today.
Continuing from that, Devyani, let's say if we reach 2040 without a specific surveillance law, what is the worst case scenario? Are we looking at some sort of a social credit system for Bengaluru?
I mean, before we come to the issue of legal standards that are required, which is the debate that's happening currently, we have to ask the question of what specific objectives of policing does mass surveillance hope to achieve. We have to establish the need for it. In other jurisdictions, this is a requirement. This is a legal requirement, and courts have held technology unlawful in the absence of the police being able to demonstrate why it was necessary, why it is, basically why alternative methods will not be sufficient. So I think that has to be established first and foremost. And when we recognize that, yes, for certain things, mass surveillance, etc., is necessary, then we come to the legal sort of law that will be required, policy that will be required. Today, we don't have sector-specific policies in place. We have some guidelines that the court has given. We have some guidelines that the government of India has issued in terms of data protection, in terms of use of technology. But the police per se has not yet issued anything specific to to regulate the use of technology. And this goes back to the point that I was making earlier, which is that the gap between the officer on the ground or the constable on the ground and the thinking that's happening is too vast. So not just lay it down, but actually really have conversations with the people in the force so that there's understanding of what the technology is supposed to do and what the technology cannot do. And I really appreciate, Mr. Pranab's remarks that actually beat policing is fundamental to any kind of democratic policing. So, technology can only aid it; it cannot substitute it.
Mr. Mohanty, you head the Cyber Command, and in a few months, K4C is likely to come into force. K4C is the Karnataka Cyber Command Center. One of the units under this is the Information Disaster Tackling Unit, IDTU. If you have real-time access to social media to catch fake news, you also have access to data and the power to profile dissent. In 2040, who will watch over the Cyber Command? Will it need a digital ombudsman?
No, cyber command is not a digital ombudsman. Ombudsman, by very nature of it, is a judicial term. It has got
My question was, would there be need of a separate digital ombudsman?
an ombudsman. A digital ombudsman is already in place. If you see the judiciary and if you see the ordinary supervision that is cast over the police, you already have ombudsman. The question is, what kind of ombudsman will you be having in 2040? When it is expected that surveillance will be fairly omniscient, and it will be there everywhere, omnipresent. And you won't have a place where there won't be surveillance. So coming to the surveillance, there are two questions. Should the police be framing guidelines, laws or sub-laws or rules in regard to surveillance, or should it be interpreting those which have been made? Surveillance is nothing new. We have the Telegraph Act, which dates back to the 1800s. That was meant when the telegraph first came into existence. That has persisted through the years of telephony, now into mobile telephones. But then it is meeting with a wall of resistance when the encrypted apps, messaging apps which have come in. So it's no longer valid. So this question is being wrestled with by the policymakers and also in the judiciary. If we are not able to find out what's going on between a peer-to-peer communications with the messaging app in between, then what do we know about the conversation? That is a question which is being answered partly through the court, partly through policymakers. We will see where that leads. So the future is encrypted communications. We are not going to have the original communications that we used to have, like just take out a plug and put it into a surveillance network and you can hear the voices. That's not going to happen. So the question is, if encrypted apps allow themselves to be intercepted, then will they retain their mojo? I think not. If they do not and allow encryption to continue, then what surveillance? In that case, the surveillance will be meta-surveillance, that is surveillance of metadata. If we look at 5G and 6G and 7G, which is going to come, here even the metadata is going to be encrypted, as you know. Earlier we used to have the encryption only for the content. Now it's metadata also, which is going to be encrypted. And given the fair amount of omniscience of the internet, encrypted communications plus omniscience of the internet means people will no longer be reliant on ordinary telephony. That's happened to a great extent, and now it's going to happen further as well. So this is number two. Number three, some amount of surveillance is unavoidable. For instance, we had a discussion on computer vision and driverless cars and all that. And the driverless car is negotiating its path through a crowded street. It is talking to other devices. It may be talking to the traffic signals, other vehicles. That lends to surveillance. And that surveillance is unavoidable because that information is there. I mean, we can't say that police just can't go and say that since we are the police, we will not look at that data. We will. Anything that aids us in crime control or detection or prevention, we will use it. But given if you're looking at an Orwellian circumstances, Orwellian vision of what's going to happen in 2040, I don't think so. Things will be a little chaotic as of now, but certain trends are already visible. Encryption will go on continuing. Encryption will go on strengthening. Ordinary and conventional methods of telephony and communications will cease to be. So that's where we are. Some amount of surveillance will remain because that is available. That's the lowest hanging fruit. So this is the future of surveillance. By 2040, it's not going to change.
Oh, we are almost out of time. So I'll quickly, Ranjith, we can't not talk about the traffic. It is chaotic and rules are often suggestions. Can Western AI models actually work here, or do we need to build a unique chaos-ready algorithm for the city?
What do you think? Obviously, it's not going to. The Western AI models, especially when it comes to traffic, certainly not going to work. And at the end of the day, I don't think AI, I can only speak from the camera AI perspective, and camera AI is not going to completely really solve the traffic problems of Bangalore. It has to be better roads, better public transport, metro, more roads, right? And that's, so where camera AI could potentially help is to reduce traffic violations, which are already there today, but not very accurate. So it's going to get super accurate. And also you're probably going to use a stick policy to ensure that people, use public transport more. I think we will get to a point where we're going to discourage people from using their own cars and push them into, because Bangalore is bursting at its seams and I don't see a way out of that. So these are, I think, my predictions for, how, camera AI could potentially help the traffic woes. But generally it has to be better public infrastructure.
So when it comes to Bangalore traffic, even AI will have a difficult time solving it.
Of course.
So, gentlemen, Devyani, let's listen to your final remarks. I would want a definitive prediction for 2040. You can start, Devyani.
Sure. Thank you. I think AI, the potential of AI for policing, is being explored worldwide. There are many advantages, and one clear advantage is, of course, using the tools that will help translate language, which will help, a beat constable on the ground, particularly in a city like Bangalore. But I think in terms of the kind of data that is currently being maintained by the police, there's been a lot of progress. There's been a lot of standardization in the way crimes are recorded, with the way the crimes are registered. A lot of information is now made publicly available. However, we still find gaps, and I think that's the gap that we need to focus on now. For example, non-registration remains an issue, at the police station. So while registration rates are improving, but non-registration remains a problem. Similarly, unnecessary arrests, is a concern that remains. So the data that currently is there with the police on arrested persons, on suspects, if majority of arrests are found to be unnecessary, then that becomes the data source for AI to work off. So, the implications of that are serious. So these are some of the issues that we need to work on, focus on now, in order to be able to, again, harness the potential of AI.
Ranjith?
Yeah, one prediction I have is on the stage behind me, drones, right? Drones were utilized in the Ukraine-Russian war. We've seen how effective it's been in Operation Sindoor as well. And I think drones are going to be a major player. By 2040, for sure, a lot of policing will happen using drones. And that could be automatic, as well as using these speakers to deter people. That's going to be automatic. We're going to see a lot more, unfortunately, I think face recognition today, although it exists, it doesn't work very well. And so, but that's going to get much better, unfortunately. And so there is going to be monitoring all around using face. It's a slippery slope we are on. So I don't think, unless we have laws to stop the usage, some state government, somebody is going to roll it out, and central government also possibly. So it's going to, it's the face recognition is going to, and the other thing is the cameras are likely not going to be standalone. They're going to work with all the traffic cameras as well as sensors, IoT sensors. It could even listen to social media, stuff, take some information on what's going to happen at a particular point, and then, use all of that information. So I think that's my prediction. It's a bit of a doomsday prediction, but unless we put some laws around it, I think it's going to happen.
Mr. Mohanty?
Yeah. So I've been hearing a lot about AI in traffic. So I'd like to add here that a major component of what's coming in technology, I don't look at AI, is that transport is going to be revolutionized. It's not going to be what you are seeing now, ground bound. The only things that will be touching the road surface will be the heavier trucks, maybe the public transport. In the days to come, you're going to have drones, you're going to have maglev, and you're going to have increased electrification of transport. So with that, whatever traffic problems you are seeing now, as an optimistic person, I can tell you, they are not going to exist beyond the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to change. So if that changes, with the introduction of technologies like IoT, Internet of Things, the solution to these kind of traffic will be extremely streamlined and extremely fast. Second, the process of storing of data, processing of data, supervision of data is also going to be extremely, omniscient. It's going to be everywhere. The police officers are already wearing the body-worn cameras. The entire uniforms will become something of a bionic kind of a uniform, and they will go on collecting data and stuff. 2, 3, there will be a lot of autonomous, developments as far as judiciary is concerned, far as supervision is concerned. So these things are going to become more and more horizontalized rather than the vertical structure that you are seeing. These 3 I can tell you straightforward. There are certain aspects of policing which will not change.
The tools are ready, the rules will take some time. Thank you all.
Thank you.